Let's move on to next week. You obviously got Carl Frampton out as well. What is going on with that, Jamie? Is there any updates, opponent-wise, etc.?
Yeah, he's matched with Vardanyan, so up until now that's as it's going. There has been problems a few weeks ago with the visas and stuff, but apparently that's been sorted out now. So as far as see the reactions, then that was quick.
Very good.
So as far as where we're up to now, is it's still the same. So it's not been ideal. It was, even though we had an idea about the date for Carl for a few weeks before it got announced, it still wasn't set in stone. So it's not ideal, but he's an experienced fighter. He's good at coping with situations like this.
Well, him and Jamel Herring were supposed to collide, and then we had this whole situation, and Jamel took his own route, and Carl's doing his own thing. Do you think that fight still happens next year, Jamie?
Well, obviously, we don't really know what's going to happen for the rest of this year now, but the plan was always for it to happen in December, after sort of all this situation, and they're both going to have a run out.
It could still happen, to be fair.
It could still happen, exactly, and I did see an interview with Bob Arum a few weeks ago saying that if Fury and Wilder 3 happens in Vegas, Carl v Herring could happen on the undercard. So it's not out of the water for this year, but if it's not this year, then I'm pretty certain that it'll happen early the year after.
Do you think they need each other?
I think it's a good fight from both. I think Herring, Carl's the sort of fighter who brings a lot of money to the table, and Herring is in a situation where, even though he's a world champion and he's establishing his own name in the super featherweight division, he's not the name in the fight. So I think that it works well for both fighters, and I think that is there other fights there for Herring? Yeah, of course there is, but I don't think there'll be one financially what will suit him the same as a Carl Frampton fight would.
What are you looking for? Let's start with AQIB on Friday. What are you looking for from him, and also from Carl and his, let's say, tick over next weekend?
I think the one thing I'm looking for AQIB is experience, rounds in the bank. Like you say, getting used to that, being on that big stage under pressure. It was his first fight on Sky last time, first fight for Eddie. So the second one is on, even though there's no crowd, it's like a bigger stage. Yeah. So just, even though I'm pretty confident that he'll deal with it well, you can't ever underestimate the importance of experience, and I think getting that in the bank will stand him in good stead. I think it'll be a good performance, solid performance. AQIB punches harder than his record suggests. Because we've matched him tough, I feel he hasn't stopped anyone yet. But the stoppages will come. The longer the fights go, I think the longer rounds will suit him. So I'm looking for him to put in a solid performance. Prove to people the confidence I've got in him. I want people to see that, and then obviously he can move on to titles probably middle of next year. For Carl, I'm looking forward for him to getting a bit of frustration out, getting a bit of the cobwebs off, and a dominant performance going into a Herring fight. Because style-wise, it's nothing like a Herring fight, but we don't need to do that with someone like Carl because he's got so much experience over the years. He's good with southpaws anyway. So I'm just looking forward to Carl getting back in there, getting this frustrating period out of the way, and then hopefully we can get the Herring fight set.
Well, listen, best of luck with AQIB on Friday and next week with Carl. Let me just get a couple of your thoughts on big issues going on in the boxing at the moment. Let's start with Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. What do you think?
It's a bittersweet one for me because obviously it shouldn't be happening really because of the age stuff. The age they're both at, the stages of the career, they've both been way past the best for a long time. But if you take it for what it is, which is basically a glorified spar, then why not? And you know what? I've got to say, I love both of Tyson and Roy Jones. Two of my idols when I was growing up and watching boxing. So if you're asking me if I'll be paying 20 quid to buy a pay-per-view, then absolutely I'll be buying it, yeah.
Fair enough, Jamie. Okay, we saw Frank Warren put out a statement to Sky and Matchroom yesterday, essentially saying they want to match their best fighters against Matchroom's best fighters. It had a lot of people talking last night. Some people say it's a brilliant idea, some people say this is unrealistic. Obviously I'm going to speak to Eddie about it today. What do you think about it?
I think the both scenarios, what you've just said there, are right. I think it's a fantastic idea, but it's pretty unrealistic. I don't think, how are you going to get two big, massive TV broadcasting companies to sit down and agree on putting on so many fights between themselves. It has happened in the past where they've done it for as a one-off thing, like Mayweather, Pacquiao and Tyson Lewis, but I mean, you're talking like the absolute top end. I can see it happening for Fury and AJ, but for the rest of them, I just can't see it happening. And it's a great idea. In an ideal world, everyone would be nice and peaceful and get along with each other and put the best fights on. But just politically, it's near enough impossible as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Whilst you're here, I might as well get updates from the rest of your stable. So Jack Cattrall, we're still in the same position basically as we were before, Jamie? We
are, yeah. Hopefully we'll have a bit of news for him soon. So I've been told by MTK that the ball is rolling and they're having conversations with Frank Warren now to try and get him a date in place. So hopefully around about October time he should be moving. But as far as the world title shot's concerned, it just can't happen yet because Ramirez has got obligations already with Pistol, which he couldn't fulfil in January because of the coronavirus in China. So that's been put back. If that had took place, before lockdown, then Jack would have been next in line and be sat here waiting for his shot. It's just not going to happen. So if I think the very worst case scenario is that Jack will get an interim title fight, which I don't like. I hate interim title fights, but he's my fighter and he's a lovely kid. He's been left on the sidelines for far too long, frustrated. So in these circumstances, then I've no sort of obligation to fight for an interim title, and then the next fight should definitely be the winner of Ramirez and Pistol.
Are you concerned that if Ramirez comes through, let's say, and Josh Taylor beats his mandatory, that they'll make that undisputed fight and not consider Jack? Is that going through in your and Jack's minds?
Obviously it's a concern, but what you've got to think is the WBO have said, they put a statement out there saying, okay, at first it was Hooker could fight Ramirez because a unification overrides a mandatory challenger, but he must fight his mandatory challenger next. Then Ramirez won, so then that sort of put a bit of a spanner in the works, but he has to fulfill his obligation with the WBC, and then he's got to fulfill it with the WBO. So the WBO have said, if Ramirez comes through, he cannot defend his title against anybody else. So in theory, if those two decide to fight each other, the WBO title can't be on the line, and Jack has to fight for the vacant title. So no one wants to do that. Jack wants to fight the champion and win a world title, fighting the defending champion. So no one wants that scenario to happen. And I understand Taylor versus Ramirez is a massive fight. I get that, but if he's going to do it the right way, then he has to fulfil his obligation and defend against Jack.
Of course, in this mandatory situation, everyone talks about Dylan White and the struggles he's gone through. Not many people mention Jack, and I wouldn't expect the noise around Jack to be the same as Dylan. Dylan's a heavyweight, he's a pay-per-view star. Obviously, it's going to grab more attention, but do you feel like not enough people talk about this situation with Jack and WBO?
I think because Jack's is a lovely, nice, sort of quiet. He's not outspoken, he doesn't shout his mouth off. So that's probably why it isn't being spoke about enough. I mean, maybe Frank Warren could do more to voice his opinion on. Social media is the biggest platform now, so maybe could get out there and try and fight his corner a little bit more, because I haven't seen that. But as far as Jack goes, I've never met anyone who's sort of laid back. I'm pretty certain if it was anyone else in the gym, they'd be kicking and screaming, going, what's going on here? But and he is getting frustrated. I can see it in him. But and I've said this a few times, I cannot fault his commitment to training, even when he's not had a date coming in between fights. He's been in the gym, still learning, still keeping his skills sharp, because he knows that because he's been waiting that long, if someone comes and throws him the fight on 6 weeks' notice, he needs to be in a position to be able to take it. He's been waiting that long, he can't afford to say no because he hasn't got enough time, so he's in position to do that.
Stephen Ward, he's going to be at cruiserweight, is that correct, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. He should never have been at light heavyweight in the first place. I'd said that to him for 3 years ago when he came to me, and I've said it before as well, that the only reason he could do it was because of how disciplined he is and how committed. but he'll definitely be more suited at cruiserweight. He's got a British title in him. I think, you know, if get him a win or two to make sure he's settled at the weight, and then he'll be a great addition to the cruiserweight scene.
Okay, Dave Allen. Now, there's rumours floating about that he might have been on the last pay-per-view show of this Fight Camp series. Can you tell us anything, Jamie?
Nothing as yet. I mean, there was rumours, and there was even up to last week talk about it, but I don't think that's going to happen now. I think they're looking like more likely September, and that's what I want really for Dave. You know, he's always took fights on short notice when he's not been in shape, and it's just not fair. You know, even though he's earned good money and he's a real popular kid and he helps sell the pay-per-views, you know, for him to fully achieve his potential, he deserves a bit of notice. You know, let's not beat around the bush here as well. He's been his own worst enemy at times. He's not trained properly, so he understands that now, and he's put himself in a position now where he's got a great base to build off. So he's fitter now, by all accounts, than what he has been in most of his fights, and he's not even started training for a fight yet. And that's what I wanted for him. I said, listen, get yourself in shape before you come to me for a proper camp, and then we've got a big base then to build a really tall pyramid rather than a little small one. So he's done it. I've got to take me out to him. He's applied himself properly, and I'm looking forward to him getting 4 to 6 weeks notice for a fight, which is not a lot in general, but to him is a long time, and I think you're going to see a different fighter. He'll perform well, I'm telling you.
He's probably used to, like, if he got a phone call about the Fight Camp thing and he wasn't been managed by MTK and he didn't have you in your corner, he'd probably just take it, wouldn't he?
He would have done, yeah, and that's part of the conversations we've been having is, you know, I understand you're a fighter and you want to earn money, and your ego sometimes gets the better of you. You know, a promoter will say, I'll give you this much money, and you just go, yeah, I'll take it. You don't do any negotiations. That's what your management team are there for. You know, me as a trainer, my job is just to train him, but also they come to me for advice, and that's what I think. And he's been coming to me, which I like. He's got that trust. So yeah, definitely he'd have probably been on this card and fighting for a lot less money, but he deserves, you know, if he applies himself now. I've said that he's a natural athlete, Dave. I think that's why he's cut corners in the past, but potentially he could be a world-class fighter if he applied himself properly. And I said to him, give me 6 months of commitment, keep yourself in shape, get Eddie to put you on a couple of cards, 8-rounder, 10-rounder, and then I think you'll see a different fighter. And I think, you know, let's not be silly and talk about beating AJs and Fury, but you're talking about a world-class fighter, I believe, if he applies himself over the next 6 months.
Do you think he can win a British title?
Definitely. I feel like he can win a British title without a shadow of a doubt.
Who else have you got? Rocky Fielding, Chantel Cameron. Hope I haven't missed anyone out.
No, we've probably missed a few out because I think we've got 10 pros now. Chantel apparently may be fighting for the world title in September. McGaskill's give the 10-stone title up, and it looks like Eddie's trying to match her for the vacant title in September time. So that should hopefully play out over the next week or so, and there should be some news then.
Jamie Moore, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV. Best of luck with AQIB this Friday night and Cole next Saturday.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers.